Okay, here we are. Now this is a little bit different for me. I'm not used to this kind of stuff. Sorry about the shaky camera. So we're gonna try something different today. I'm gonna try self-tanning some fur. Let me show you what I got going on. I'm gonna use an alum solution with salt. Basically, it's pickling. Um, I already skipped a step for you accidentally, but I'll catch it on the next one. I have a mink that I caught. So this here is my lovely little mink, just a little fella. This is my one that I caught, was it a couple years ago? I don't even remember when I caught it. Anyway, it was my first mink ever, and I was going to send him to get tanned, but in the process of fleshing him, I tore a big hole in his side, so I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so I'm going to self-tan him, and hopefully it works out. Let me show you what I did, though. So I started with a bucket of soapy water, dish soap, to cut the grease. And I washed, turned him inside out so that his fur was outside. I washed him real good. And then I rinsed him and I turned him back out. So now he's back to, typical, like I would have had him on the board. And you can see right there where I cut his, that's a pretty wicked gash. And then a little one on his arm there. But anyway, I got too close to the edge of the board and I screwed up. I learned a good lesson. So this is a bucket of clean water, clean hot water, warm water. I figured that's about 3 gallons. I don't know. I didn't measure it. I figured this is kind of a guesstimation process anyway. So I'm going to add my alum and my salt now. Hindsight's 2020. I should have brought a tripod to do this, but I didn't think about it. So let me show you. I've got my handy dandy dollar store plastic measuring cup. I've got some pickling salt right in my face. There you go, pickling salt. I think it's just finer, that's all. I also have some kosher salt, which is just non-iodized. Everything I've heard says non-iodized. I imagine that's probably true. And then I have a bag of alum. And I bought mine on Amazon. I just wanted a small bag because I've never done it before. I didn't want to put a whole bunch of money. I think I spent about 10 bucks. So I'm going to mix it up. My recipe is going to be 1 cup alum to 2 cups of salt. Listen, I found so many different recipes out there, it's not even funny, but everybody I've heard, not everybody, but the majority of people say it's a 1 to 2 solution. So 1 cup alum, 2 cups salt, and I figure I got about 3 gallons of water. So let me get that pouring. Okay, so I've kind of set the camera up so you can actually watch me do this. I know it's really exciting watching a guy measure out salt and alum. So here we go. This is actually a 1.5 cup. Had I to do it over again, I probably would have got like a 4 cup, so I didn't have to measure twice. But you know what they say, measure twice, cut once, right? So let's see here. That's 1. Salt. Come on, salt. Roll out of there. Roll Tide. That's right, I said it. Okay. A little extra for good measure. I always like a little salt in my food, so I might as well put a little salt on my fur. There's 2. Beautiful. This will be a little easier because it's just a bag on the scoop. Yeah, it's probably more like a 1.1/8, 1.25. Here we go. So, pour it on in there. Now everything I've heard says that this is non-toxic. I'm not a big fan of chemicals on my hand, so let me grab the stick and I'll stir it for you. Just a second. Okay, so for those of you that also know me more, You know, I'm a pretty practical fella. I just went outside and found a dead branch, and I took the pruning shears and chop chop. Here we go. Got a stir stick. And I made it sturdy enough so that later when there's fur in here, I'll be able to mix it all around. Gosh, that mixed up real fast. It actually has kind of a yummy smell to it. I'm not sure why. Okay, that's enough stirring on camera. I'm sure that was really exciting. So now I'm going to take my Mink, and I am first side in to try to get as much of the chemical on the Mink as possible on his skin. What a terrible skinning and fleshing job. But listen, that was my first one. What can I tell you? So anyway, he's got a cute face. I will say that. Hello. There you go. Back in camera. Hello. But anyway, here we go. Into the mix. See you, Mink. Of course, he's got air in him, so he's going to try to float. But we're going to hold him down until he sinks well and get all that air out of him. But I want him to be completely submersed. Everybody I've listened to on YouTube talks about like days worth of being submersed. As far as, whoa, it's 3 days, it's 2 weeks, it's this, that. I think most people say 5 to 7 days. I'm going to stick with the right around 5 days. I just happened to be out here for 5 days, so that's the plan, 5 days. So I've also got some, there he is, the old coon that I caught a couple, 3 years ago. It's a real nice coon, a big one, but the prices are just so crappy. I didn't do anything with him. I fleshed him and dried him. And then I got a couple of fresh rats here that I'm gonna make a pair of mittens out of. This coon, so in the process of being stored out in the garage, or in the shed, I mean, he found a mouse, or rather a mouse found him, and chewed him up a little bit. So there's still quite a bit of fur, you know, in his back to work with as far as making maybe a pair of mittens or something, the backs of a pair of mittens. But I'm gonna do him. I'm actually gonna do him in a separate bucket because from what I understand, they're so greasy when they, you don't want them in with other stuff. So let me get a couple of these muskrats ready and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, ooh, shaky camera, sorry. So what I've done is I've taken a muskrat and I split him so that his belly, I actually cut his belly right out. Because what I want to do is just make a pair of mittens. These are just the backs of a pair of leather mittens. I'm going to wash him. There's the soapy bucket. And there goes the rat. And I'm going to do 3 more of those. I'm going to have 4 total. They're sitting right here. I'll cut them, throw them in the wash, and then we'll get them in with Mink here in a minute. The wash process is pretty simple. It's just soapy water, dish soap, and they're still, you know, he's pretty dry still. So I'm gonna let him sit in there and soak till he's nice and soft, and wash him up real good. They do have really pretty fur once they're all, you know, dried up and fluffed. So, okay, I'll show you what we got next. So in the process of doing all this, I realized that, man, that's a lot of wasted fur if I cut all those the bellies out and don't use them. So what I started, I was cutting about a 1/2 inch inside the belly. That way I have something to sew if I wanted to go right to the edge of the back. What I started doing after that, after the first couple, was I just split a 1/2 inch into the belly, and I'm just going to tan. I have the tan, it's all there. I'm just going to tan the whole thing, and maybe the belly would be good for lining or for, I don't know, edging, who knows, I don't know, but I hate to throw away fur, so now I got a bunch of parts of fur in there, but that's okay, we'll figure it out as we go. I am going to cut that coon up a little bit because, 1, the mouse, and 2, they're so fatty. I'm going to try to get rid of some of the real fatty areas around the eyes and whatnot, because I'm not trying to do a coonskin cap or anything. I just want some a piece of leather with some hair on it, and of course I'll do the tail. But all right, so I'm gonna cut that up and show you what I get. Okay, so we've got everything soaking. I decided to do the raccoon in his own solution. I think I told you that already, just because he's so greasy. I washed him real good with some dish soap, and a lot of grease came out of him. I was surprised how much grease came out. I recommend using a strong grease cutting soap, dish soap of some kind. So that being said, lessons learned from day one. One, always cut fur outside. I made a huge mess trimming some of that fur, and there's just guard hair, and there's we would call it dubbing and fly tying, but the under fur, you know, is all over the place. Yeah, so I got to vacuum and clean up a lot. Two, pre-rinse before you wash, and then wash again. So pre-rinse and 2 washes. I couldn't believe how much fat and dirt came out of those skins. And they were pretty good. I brushed them and everything before I went through the process. But if you want them clean, pre-rinse them, pre-wash them with just, wow, I'm really shaking. With just, so if you want them really clean, make sure that you pre-rinse, and then I washed twice, and I think they're pretty clean. They came out clear water after that. So let's see here. What else did I learn? I don't know. I'll think about it as I go, and I'll let you know. So on to the next section, I guess.